What's up, everybody? Episode 4 of Ahsoka is here, and holy shit, it was perfect. I don't even know where to start with this. I'm gonna hit everything that happened and give a whole section just to the lightsaber fights because they were legit that good. But before we get into all of that, this video is gonna have spoilers for the episode, and there's some big spoilers this week. So, if don't keep watching if you haven't seen the episode, and if that's you, I would be coming back to this video and the Nerdverse once you've seen the episode, and let me know what you thought of this epic entry in a galaxy far, far away. Let's start running down what happened this week. It was an average length episode, about 40 minutes, give or take a couple, but boy, was it jam-packed. We pick up with Ahsoka and Sabine on Cetos as they try to repair the ship and reach out to Hera. Ahsoka suggests that if they can't get the map away from Morgan Elsbeth and the rest of them, they need to destroy it. Pretty much like stranding Ezra and Thrawn, is better than just Thrawn getting back, and I can't really argue with that. It makes sense, and as Ezra says in his hologram in this season that Sabine has, and really says without saying when he makes a sacrifice, he knows what he's getting into, and he's willing to make said sacrifice. Ahsoka doubts whether or not she can trust Sabine to do this because, well, it's the right call. It's not an easy thing to do. She delivers the line of Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire, and I did think this would kind of tilt Sabine in the right direction, but we'll see later. Balin senses Ahsoka and Sabine on the planet, and when Morgan asks him if he's scared or if he has doubt, it was one of those two lines, I forget which. He responds that it's just experience, and I thought this was a great line and the first of many great moments from the late, great Ray Stevenson in this week's episode. Elsbeth's troops reach Ahsoka's ship, and the first fight of many ensues, and god damn does Hu Yang got some mean hands. Ahsoka and Sabine make quick work with the droids and the guards, then head to stop the Eye of Sion's departure while Hu Yang reaches out to Hera. But don't worry, Hera is already one step ahead as she defies the Council's orders and goes to help her friends anyway, as the once a rebel, always a rebel line is delivered, and it's actually much better in context with the episode than it is out in the trailer. Carson Teva shows up to help. He's from the Mandalorian, and his squad of fighters zip into hyperspace. And I don't know if this was a new sound they used for the jump, but it was really cool. We then jump back to Cetos, where Ahsoka and Sabine run into Shin and Mirok. And while this isn't a major thing here, I do think the running on the volume looked really good, which is usually an issue I have when anybody uses the volume, really. It's not specific to one creative. But the awesome part is the actual fight, which I will dive into in the whole section dedicated to the fights. But just know, it's awesome, and Ivana Sakno's eyes rip your soul out from, like, just her look rips your soul out once again. The score is also breathtaking during this, Peter Ramsey, the director of this episode, and Kevin Kiner, the composer, paired up for one hell of an episode here, and it's really been a hell of a season for Kevin Kiner. Ahsoka advances to the ancient site to face Balin, and this is when we get our dose of Anakin. But it's kind of flipped in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe it was just my perception, but it sounded out of admiration in the trailers, but in context of the episode, which I guess makes sense. Everything in context is different, but in the context of the episode, it's much more menacing and demeaning. We get another great fight here, and it ends as Ahsoka falls to the ocean and enters a door of sorts. Sabine is taken hostage as the villains make the jump to Peridia, and Hera is stranded in space not knowing what's going on. Like I said, there was a whole lot packed into this episode, and man, it was awesome. Like, truly awesome. Peter Ramsey directed a brilliant episode, and Kevin Kiner delivered another masterful score. A score that boosted these lightsaber duels from great to amazing. You have two major fights, but one of them is kind of two at the same time. That is Ahsoka versus Marok and Sabine versus Shin. Sabine versus Shin is such a great rematch, and like I said, Ivana's eyes are absolutely insane. Their fight is longer than the other two, but there's a really interesting moment when Sabine tries using the Force, but she can't, which was a refreshing moment, I guess is a way to put it, because usually it's just like, oh, look at me, I can do it, and then it hits her that she just uses her Mandalorian tricks to get the upper hand on Shin. I hope she ends up being just a Mandalorian who's competent with a lightsaber, because in my opinion, it's more interesting. Like, don't do it like, let Grogu be the Mando Jedi, let Sabine be the Mandalorian who can use a saber. Ahsoka versus Marok is a tactful duel that we all saw the ending of coming a mile away. Marok dies as they have like a forced standoff, I guess, like trying to read each other, much like it's done a couple times in Rebels. It's a a tension builder, I guess you could say. But they have their duel. Marok dies as they do it, and as Ahsoka slices through him, much like she did the other Inquisitor in Tales, and like Obi-Wan did to Maul in Rebels, it's kind of like a mixture of both. Before we talk about Ahsoka versus Balin, though, I do want to address how Marok dies and just Marok as a character because the dumbass theories are finally over. He's dead, his identity doesn't matter, and it was actually pretty cool the way he dies. So the simplest way to put it is he was powered or brought to life by Night Sister magic, which Morgan Elsbeth has, and so once he got diced up by Ahsoka, it rushed out of his body, which is why it goes down the way it did. Dave has done this before, by the way, back in the Clone Wars with Savage Opress. It's kind of different, I guess. Savage doesn't like deflate, but thinking about it, maybe Marok was dead and brought back with magic, and that's why he deflated, for lack of a better term, when Savage kind of just has the life force drained out of him as he dies. Moving to Balin versus Ahsoka, this was a monstrous duel. The power behind Balin's saber and the performances by both Rosario Dawson and the late Ray Stevenson were so good during this fight. From the Anakin talk to Balin's menacing turn from not wanting to fight her to doing what must be done. This was another great fight in the episode here, and the way it ends was puzzling to me at first, like initially, but by the time the credits roll, it's awesome. That ending featured Ahsoka entering the War Between Worlds, as it seems she might have died, but that's not really made clear. But what's important is she's in there, and before we can even take a breath, we hear his voice. Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one. Anakin is back. Hayden looks so good in this scene, and I can't believe he's already here. So what does this mean? I've got two ideas, really. Maybe three, we'll see. The first being that Ahsoka will have a journey with Anakin next episode, and then she'll go through a portal, going into Peridia, the new galaxy, and meeting the villains in Sabine on the other side. The second being Ahsoka has her journey with Anakin. That's going to be the common denominator here. I think there will be, I don't know if I want to say significant amount of time, but I think we'll get a good chunk of Anakin and Ahsoka in live action. I know that's something Dave would want to do. So she has her journey with Anakin, then goes back to when she picks up Sabine, and we get the legit scene from the Rebels epilogue with Ahsoka the White. Then the third being, actually I lied, I only have two, but I think it will be one of those two scenarios in the episode next week. I've been trying not to rate episodes lately because it's better to rate the season as a whole, but this was a 10 out of 10. Even before Anakin showed up, it was absolutely amazing. I mean, the lightsaber fights were great. Everything was great. But as always, I want to know what you guys thought about the episode, so let me know down in the comments below what you thought of episode 4 and what you would rate it. And if you don't want to miss out on any future coverage of the show, and I'm going to have a ton this week, subscribe to the channel so you don't, and make sure you have a great day.